girl. It's been, I don't know how to do this anymore. I don't remember how it works.
Yeah, the kids say it's been a minute, right?
It's been a hot minute.
Oh, what's the hot minute mean then?
Like a big one. A large
longer
one.
than a standard minute?
Yeah, and that's what I think it means. I could be wrong. I'm at the point now where I don't actually know this stuff.
Isn't it weird?
It is weird because I didn't think it would ever. I was like, that's not real. Like, you guys are just messing around. And I see things on the internet and I go, I have no idea what that means. And I have to look it up.
Yeah. What's really weird though, Mackie, is you'll start to find that there are things that you then really want to adopt into your persona. And then you find out that those are things that were popular a couple of years ago. That's when you know you're old.
I don't want to ever experience that.
Embrace it.
I already feel old.
Acceptance. Okay, where are we going today? Wait, do you want to say like an official hi? How you doing?
I mean, yeah, I guess what? Okay. Welcome back to the Mind, the Mirror, and Me, the podcast where I don't remember. Me, I'm 24. I talk about things with my dad, who's a therapist,
and I'm 54.
I'm a hairstylist, and yeah, he's 54. So you can do the math there. But we were really consistent, and then in our defense, we have lots of things going on right now. For both of us. But we're back and we're a little rusty, but we're good.
We are?
I am a little rusty. You're perfect.
Okay.
We're doing it.
Looking
for
that
what
you're
fishing for?
No, I was not.
Okay, but we have a topic that we're excited about, and it's the idea of optimistic nihilism, right?
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, nihilism is its own thing, and then basically there's a fun spin you put on it that changes it. So I did just look up so nihilism itself is the belief that nothing has any meaning in this life. Those who adhere to nihilism typically reject traditional moral, religious, and societal beliefs, arguing that these constructs are human inventions and do not have any intrinsic or universal significance. And then I put in parentheses, scary.
I was going to say, because this is the part where anybody listening right now, just check in with yourself and what are the buts that you're saying right now, and what are those feelings? That's going to be a big part of what we're going to talk about as we
right. Because I do think depending on where you are and what's important to you in your life, initially that's like either you completely disagree or you don't even want to think about it because it feels scary. Because who wants to think that there's no point in that? Like, you go down that whole thing and it's spooky. So we're acknowledging that, but that's not what we're doing here.
Hey, Mackie, why did you choose this one, by the way? Because I was excited about this topic but it's only taken me 30 years of deep thought to get there, Yeah,
I think I have a couple reasons, but I do think the biggest one is like the last year now, or maybe longer, I've gone through my own kind of faith journey. Right? Crisis sounds scary, but
I know I've gone through journey. Some people say deconstruction.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe like deconstruction, but I've thought about it a lot, and I've like been looking inward and just trying to figure out what I actually think and feel and believe and what values I care about, and just like, kind of deconstructing the faith I grew up with. Yeah. And in doing that, I've just looked at a lot of different like religions or practices or beliefs or just all different things. And I was leaning in a little bit, like I liked a lot of Buddhist type of like almost hippie like kind of outlooks. I don't know. So I was like looking into a lot of that. And then I came across like a Reddit thread of this optimistic nihilism thing that basically just says like, I felt very validated when I found out what it was, because it felt like it was saying, you're good to like look at all these different things and choose what values matter. And like, it doesn't need to be a specific religion necessarily. And so I was very drawn to it as I was deconstructing faith things, because it is a very good like reminder that you have a big say in your life and your values, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes, and what I like about you saying that, because when you opened, you had the greatest line there where you said that nothing matters, but we're going to put a fun spin on it, which I think that immediately people think that doesn't even make sense. And but you're literally saying that as you've been deconstructing your faith, that you found some hope in this
concept. Where it can be scary, where initially
it
was scary, and it has been scary, but this is a way that kind of just like a gentle reminder that it doesn't have to be that scary, I guess. And then also just I think that the concept of, but like, because I've been trying to work on myself and learning things and whatever, and I'm so bad. I care what people think so much, like so much. And so I do feel like I've been trying to not care, which I know that's like, it's like a more specific thing of this thing we're talking about, but that's the thing I know I need to work on. And so kind of adopting this idea that not everything matters as much as I think it does also helps in that sense. So basically just the things I've been going through myself, it like just resonated a lot.
And I'm just going to throw some things out there, Mac, and I would love for you to, because this is what I love about this concept is it aligns with my beloved acceptance and commitment therapy a lot, because if you really are the only version of you that's ever walked the face of the earth with all of your things, then ultimately it is a you thing, but we're almost, and it's inherent in us to feel like, well, that's selfish. And if I'm selfish, then people aren't going to like me. I'm going to get booted out of the tribe. So then how do I show up and show that I care and not be selfish? But then sometimes that is to our own detriment. And so I love where we're going to go today, because I want you to know there's no part of me that's saying, finally, you've arrived. Because I mean, I think that nihilism can fit perfectly in with a faith system. It can fit into a religious context. And we'll talk about that in a little bit here too. And just to know too, if anybody's hearing this, like, oh my gosh, like this dad is leading his daughter astray. You and I literally have never talked about this before. So I think it's kind of, I mean, this specifically.
Right.
So I think it's really interesting. I don't even know exactly where you're at with what we're talking.
Yeah. And I don't even know if I totally know where I'm at. So I think we're just.
Well, I don't, which is part of the fun. I mean, I'm saying I don't even know where I'm at, because that's part of this. When you let go of needing everyone else's validation and needing to figure out how can I be liked, then you start to then sit with what's the point? But then it's almost like once you take a pause and get a beat there, then it's so I actually have a say in my life.
Right.
And that's where I feel like I can tie this into either you're the only version of you. So step back and take a look at what are the things you want to do. And then, but I think that this can fit in for those that are more religious. That also fits in okay, let's say that you are a child of God with your own unique talents and abilities. So then it's like, I'm going to let go of need other people telling me what those are. And I'm going to try to find my inherent worth or my inherent gifts or talents or goodness. But then that's going to come still at other people now saying, whoa. Yeah, I don't think you can do that. Or, well, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And then that's a them thing. And so I think that it can fit in any of those contexts, because it really is your call.
Yeah. And that's what I think I really like about it. Because I do think, like, I want to say, everyone find a way to get to this place, and everyone start because obviously I don't have it all figured out, but start heading in that direction, because I do think it applies in different ways to literally everyone and every scenario and season of life. And just, I just think it's huge. And so before we keep saying, like, you put a fun spin on it, it's good, and then barely say, so I did just look up, like, then what would you say optimistic nihilism is? And in big words, it says optimistic nihilism is a philosophical perspective that combines elements of nihilism, which is the negative thing we talked about, but with a positive and optimistic outlook on life. While nihilism typically asserts the lack of inherent meaning or purpose in existence, optimistic nihilism embraces the idea that since life doesn't have a predetermined meaning, individuals have the freedom to create their own meaning and value. So in essence, optimistic nihilists acknowledge the potential emptiness or lack of inherent purpose on the universe, but find liberation and empowerment in the ability to shape their own purpose and find meaning in the experiences they create. It's a viewpoint that encourages individuals to embrace the uncertainty of existence and construct their own fulfilling narratives and purposes, despite the absence of predetermined cosmic meaning. Big words, but
good ones.
It's like, it is just kind of, it's also embracing the unknown, which for me, the unknown is one of the scariest things ever. And I think I'm not the only person that feels that way. And pretty so having something, like something that encourages that you don't have to let it be the most scary thing, and that there is a spin on it that makes it a good, freeing thing.
Yeah.
Is kind of comforting. Even though it initially sounds like kind of scary. And so then I like taking that, I feel like it's basically saying that, like, it's flipping this idea that we're not doomed here, and we're not like doomed and meant to be miserable and like have this horrible experience, but it's that we get this chance to like experience and this chance to make choices and like learn who we are and experience who we are and just be.
Yeah.
Instead
Well,
of
that's
it
where
being
I
a
think
bad
people
thing.
start to, yeah, and I think people start to, when they hear that, then it's like, okay, they're straight to hippie mode, and these guys don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And because I think that is I want to throw out the observation and judgment concept. So I've got my beloved 4 pillars of a connected conversation, which I think is a great way to communicate. And I've taken this pre-pillar. So before we can even get to assuming that nobody's really trying to go around hurting me, or I'm going to assume there's some reason why somebody's doing what they're doing. But my first thing is, when we observe somebody doing something, it's in our nature to make a judgment on it. So if somebody's saying, okay, well, that if this person is struggling, struggling even that's a judgment word. But if they are saying that they are deconstructing their faith, most people, especially that are maybe have a strong faith, are going to say, oh, well, it's because they want to do drugs, or because they want to go out and sin, or because they want to go out with their riotous living. So then it's like, oh, okay, now they're listening through this judgmental lens of, so if you don't say, but I mean, basically it boils down to the fact that I want riotous living and debauchery and sinning, then the person listening is going to say they're not being honest about themselves. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges with this, is that if somebody isn't curious and saying, ooh, tell me more about this, your experience, then they're already in their yeah buts, going yeah, but what about but what if you're wrong? Well, yeah, but what if, and what, yeah, but that means you don't love, because there's so many things where people assume, oh, so then you can just go out and start robbing banks. And I'm like, I mean, I guess if that was one of my core values, but I don't think
really
that
important
that's
to you. I guess try it
that's,
out, see what happens.
yeah.
But
I kind of rather spend a little more time with my family and nature, but you go do the bank rob thing.
I know, and I need to find it. I wrote something there. Hold on. Say more smart things.
Oh, okay. Well, I will say this while you're looking, but you can cut me off as soon as you find
I
it.
will when I find it.
Okay, but because this is where I say that we don't know what we don't know, and then we learn a way to behave, a way to believe. We learn those things from our group, from our family, from our community, and so it makes sense that we're going to start from this place of that sounds so scary, because that's not something I know. And I think one of the most mature things somebody can do on the road to emotional maturity is to admit that there are many things that we don't know, and there are many things that we don't even know that we don't know. So what is going to hurt about listening, exploring, being curious about other situations? Because I know we've talked about the concept of differentiation before, but differentiation is where something brings up an emotion or feeling in me, and that's an opportunity to grow. It's not an opportunity to then, break that down or defend, tell the person who is doing whatever it is that is wrong because it makes me feel bad. Instead, it's like, why does it make me feel bad? Oh, because I'm kind of scared, because I feel like, what if they think that they're better than me? Or what if that means that they don't like me? Or what if it subconsciously means that their way could be a way as well that is possible? And that brings a lot of feelings. And what do we do to get rid of our discomfort? Typically we'll defend. Well, you're dumb.
Anything,
We'll withdraw.
literally anything.
Yep, exactly. Anything, rather than sit with it and then say, tell me more about your experience.
Right. But okay, I did. It's not as big as I thought. I literally just basically made a disclaimer note that I just said, we can note that in creating a life that matters to you, you probably want to be healthy and happy. So there are better decisions that could be made, but it's ultimately up to you. Mm-hmm. And just essential. So it wasn't anything crazy or profound. But with what you're saying, like, just, yeah, that it's like, I do feel like, obviously this isn't saying nothing matters, go do all these horrible things. It's nothing matters, so anything can.
Yeah.
Right? Like, nothing matters, so you choose, and anything that you choose can. And so typically then, yeah, like you're saying, you look in and you find those values that matter to you and the things that are important to you. And for most people, we typically want to feel good, right? Like that's,
yeah.
And in order to do that, you kind of do have to be a decent human being and take care of yourself. So there is a balance there, right? Like,
absolutely.
There's that disclaimer, right? But yeah, that nothing matters, so that anything can is kind of the biggest thing.
And that's the scariest thing too, because I think people just assume then that that's why we go to this place of, but you will do this or you won't care, and all of a sudden you'll murder people and rob banks and be shooting heroin between your toes. And it's like, because that must be what happens if you let go of that. This is the way that you have to live. And that's where I say, whether it's just you figuring out your own inherent worth and goodness, or when I'm speaking about faith journeys, faith crisis, sometimes to larger groups, you find that once you start just being and doing and letting your light so shine, and so that you can lift others around you, then if you're a believer in God, then that's where I say God's right there the whole time going, I was here the whole time.
Right.
Like that, you guys made that, the your own agency and accountability, that you made it difficult. Like I was saying, you're good.
Like,
and then, yes, and it can feel liberating. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I do. Okay. I have a thing that I'm curious if you'll get. So I saw a video, like a TikTok of a guy that embraces this optimistic nihilism, and he did like an analogy type of thing, basically. Mm-hmm. And I can't, if I'm being honest, this was weeks ago when I watched it, and so I don't even really remember. I wrote kind of down what it is, so I'm curious if you'll have takeaways. Okay. But he sets the scene and says that, like, say you're hanging out at a friend's house and you spill your drink and it stains their like whatever's over their table, and like, spills, and you immediately feel awful or embarrassed or negative, like anything negative, right? Like you're going to feel bad, or it's like whatever. And then he was saying that in that moment, there's nothing more comforting than finding out that it doesn't matter. And not in a like negative way, but he was saying for then like the person's house that you're at, for them to be the one to say, it is not a big deal. Like, yeah, it's so okay. It's fine. You just spilled something. I'm not worried about it. And even though you maybe are feeling embarrassed or trying to clean it up or whatever, your friend is literally telling you over and over, like, it's okay. This is not a big deal. It doesn't matter. And then he goes on to say that this idea is the same with life. And he says that the universe, and so I'm saying the universe or God or a creator or whatever, mm-hmm. right? Like whatever mm-hmm. floats your boat there, is our host and has already said before all of this.
Oh, that's good.
No big deal. It's really okay. Like that's
great.
Because nothing matters in that way. So yeah, any thoughts initially on that? Did that make any sense?
Yeah. It made a lot of sense, and I want to hear more about what you think about it, because I think that's so spot on. And I think a couple of things. I think one of the first articles I ever wrote that got a little traction was about spills in our home growing up, because I really hoped that Mom and I made it an environment where a spill just didn't matter.
Yeah,
and we tried to act like
it wasn't a big deal.
That was such a goal of ours, and so I think that's one of those concepts that I really like. But I think this is interesting. On my Waking Up to Narcissism podcast, I just told a story that you were a part of. And it may refresh your memory when here was the line that I said. So we're in Tempe. Do you remember that story?
So we're in Tempe. We were not in Tempe.
No. The story was I'd bought tickets to the wrong movie. No, the right movie in the wrong location. And for several of us, we were there for Alex's graduation from radiology school, which was a really amazing moment because of the car wreck a couple years ago, all those things.
Right.
And we all like movies, and this place had Pazookies and the movie we wanted to see. So we buy tickets, we get there. Why on earth are they not letting us in at 7:30? Which I've never been to a theater where they don't let you in on time. And so then finally I pull up the reservation, right? And then I just say, okay, 7:30, we're in Tempe. And then everybody's like, oh, we're not in Tempe.
Bullied the crap out of you.
But here's why I like that. Here's why I told that story, because I was like, oh man, okay, that happened. And you guys were great. I mean, I was open for the jokes, but I feel like that is the thing where it's like, I knew that it just happened. I did the wrong thing.
Right.
I bought it at the wrong place. That happened. And if anybody would have been like, oh man, I can't believe that, what a waste of my time or whatever, then I really feel like I could have been in a place of like, oh man, tell me more about that. Like this waste of your time. That sounds hard, because I'm just doing and being. I think that's where that started happening. Yeah. And because we're just all trying, and then we were able to get tickets and watch it later. And so it all worked out. But that's one where I think an emotionally immature person then can get really angry about what somebody else has done. And it's almost as a way that like, how dare you cause me to then not be able to do something when I wanted to? There's a lot of I and me in that thing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I like that. And that is because, again, it doesn't matter. It's not that deep. It's really okay. And we are all, I like how we're all just trying, and everyone's just doing and being and doing their thing. And so I just, taking that whole thing, I just noted it doesn't I said it doesn't specifically matter what job you have, what clothes you wear, what music you listen to, or movies you like, or who you choose to spend your time with, what car you get, what college you go to or don't go to, how much money you have, how long you hold on to a grudge, because it's all up to you and it's your life. And that is what gives us the freedom to feel our own meaning and feel it with ease instead of any guilt or fear.
Yeah.
So just, again, nothing matters. So you get to choose.
In a good way.
It comes down to nothing matters, so anything can, right? Like it is the positive thing. And I
think that oh, you go.
No, you're good.
No, you go for real.
Okay. I was just gonna say there's a trend on TikTok that I think like embodies this in a really cool way, and it's basically just, which maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but it's like like a slideshow type of thing, and the first picture is usually like a black and white, kind of sad looking, gloomy type picture, and has a phrase on it that's like, I feel everything so deeply. And it seems sad, and it's like, man, that sucks. And then you swipe it, and the next picture is colorful and bright and happy, and it says, I feel everything so deeply, but it's with exclamation points and good emojis, and like does that. And there's this trend, and people, do it with all different phrases, like, I don't talk to that person anymore versus I don't talk to that person anymore, and that's amazing. Like it's just all these different phrases like that. And I think that just comes back to this idea where it's like basically everything can have a negative spin on it and can be viewed as, this sucks and nothing matters. And because nothing matters, it sucks. And it can be this like horrible thing, but you can flip that so, I don't want to say easily because it's not necessarily easily, but you can flip that.
Yeah.
And just view it in a slightly different way and find ways to, like make it a better thing.
Yeah.
And because for me, like I feel things pretty big, and sometimes that really sucks. Like that's really hard because you feel things big, and that means there's a lot of sad, like there's a lot of negative things. But because I feel things so big, I also get to feel the good things in a big way. So like slightly off topic, but not really off topic. And like just
no, it's not, Mackie. Because I was gonna say, do you laugh? I think this is the part that is part of this where we're trying to go with the optimistic part, is I think sometimes when people feel so big of the negative emotions, they don't allow themselves to sit with the real positive emotions, because then they worry that, well, how long will these last before the negative ones come back? And part of that concept of being present is then I'm going to be in those big moments, big feelings, so that then when the big moments that are happy are there, then I'm going to embrace these, because I know that they won't necessarily last as long as I want them to. But I also know that the negative times will pass. And I think one of the most difficult things is when we're in those negative times, we don't have the confidence that those will pass. If we don't, I feel like if we don't have a real sense of purpose to take action on, or if we don't have a way to get ourselves back into the present, or, I mean, you've had, and maybe we're talking about this one in another episode, but some new, interesting, fun health challenges that have come up.
I've had a brutal couple of months.
It's been pretty wild, Mac. But that's why the fact that we're doing this now, to me, is you're living what we're talking about, because you could just stay and Google things forever.
I sure have.
Yeah. But then you can also then know that, okay, but also we're having a moment here, and we're hopefully, here's the thing. Hopefully we're reaching some people, but really it's so that you and I can have a conversation and connect and talk about these things, so that you will feel a certain way and I will feel a certain way, and I will grow and you will grow. And we hope that everybody else does. I was going to say they can all hopefully get what they want out of it. That's a nice. I know I'm doing that purely out of jokes. That's all my brain can do at times.
Yeah. Big joke
because
guy.
The concept is when, because I still see this. Well, you've been moderating mine and Sydney's live TikTok Q&As, and there's been 15, 18,000 people on some of those. And on one of them a few nights ago, where somebody just said, like, don't you ever slow down me when I'm talking? And I loved it, because a few years ago I would have gotten angry and defended myself. But on that one, I just said, oh, I don't actually, but it sounds like it's really hard for that person. So.
Right. And it's like, that's a bummer. But then for you, it's like, this is your thing, and you're excited to talk about things, and that's cool. So no, you don't slow down. It's great.
Yeah. So if somebody doesn't like it, then, I really do mean bless their heart. That would be hard to listen to something if you thought that they were talking too fast. But then if it's like, if I think that I can tell that guy who I've never really met before, and I don't really know a lot of what he's talking about or his content, and I really just stumbled upon this live, but I need him to slow down for me right this very second. That's
Like,
what we're
come
talking
on.
about. That's a little selfish
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it's a hard thing because I feel like this is one of those things where you just have to practice it, right? Like you just have to practice the thoughts and the feelings or whatever. And it's not like, because again, it can be overwhelming to hear like someone try to tell you nothing matters and whatever. And then to be like, now what? Like, then what am I supposed to, like, what am I supposed to do? And then I saw this on Reddit, just people talking about this. And so again, I'll read it, then tell me if you have like what your initial thoughts are. But potentially gives you like a game plan almost a little bit. But they said, I feel like this, and this was like someone talking about optimistic nihilism, whatever. And he says, I feel like the state that he's describing is the place where ethics begin. It's up to us to make life be what we want, to make it to mean what we think it should best mean. Great. How do we do this? And then says, there are a billion answers to this question. One of them sounds something like this. We are not blank slates. We have a nature, and we are fulfilled by some things more than others. We are more likely to survive and thrive and be untroubled and grow in the ways that we like if we embrace some values more than others. We can succeed by embracing reality and truth and by understanding and embracing our own nature. We do this by choosing that which is healthy over that which is unhealthy, by choosing what is kind and brave and wise and honest. These are the things we are drawn to by our nature, and that leads us right here.
What do you think about that first? I have lots of thoughts,
man. I feel like I have lots of thoughts, and I, again, haven't read these notes in a while, so I'm like that. I liked that. But I like that it's like, because you can say nothing matters and like it's scary and all these things, but personally, I do feel like there is more to this life and there's more to us as individual people. And I do think there are things that are just programmed into us, whether it's genetics or God or the universe, or it's like, I think that we are certain people and there are certain things. And I like that it's saying that, because it's saying like, for me, there are things where if I look inward enough and I experience enough things and I like try different things and learn different things, certain things are going to resonate with me about purpose and values and, what matters. And so it's like, there is work to be done there that then allows you to figure out what you want. And that might not be the same for you as it is for me and every other person. But I like that it's just like saying that there are certain things that we will thrive better with or doing, or, and so I do feel like it's this process of experiencing, right? Like it's the process of doing and being and figuring out what makes you feel good and what makes your life feel like a life you want to be a part of. And then I also, though, like that he's saying like this combination of reality and truth, because it's all this like pursuit of knowledge, right? Like it's all trying to figure out the truth and what's the purpose and where do we come from and like all this stuff. And I like that he's saying you embrace those things, but you're also embracing your own nature and who you are and who you were meant to be and who you like where to start with and like all just everything that's within you, but that there is an element of learning there, right? Like there is an element of knowledge, combining that with who you learn that you are supposed to be. If any of that made any sense.
Oh, Mackie, I'm very proud of you. That made so much sense, and because to me, and then I like so much what you said, because if we are this unique combination of all of the nature and the nurture and all that stuff, and I mean, I'm gonna pull up this one thing. I've got a client of mine that's getting this doctorate in genetics and epigenetics and how your genetic expression. And I just wrote this down because I think this is so amazing, where he just said we have 20,000 genes and 37 trillion cells, and each gene has an on-off switch that can flip within a millisecond based on environmental and other conditions. So how on earth, and we're so not alike with anybody else. So we're processing so many things in real time for the first time in our lives as us, based on the 20,000 genes we have and the 37 trillion cells and its genetic expression in that moment, and then all the things we bring into that moment. And so that is why you are the only you ever, period, end of story. And whether, again, that's just where you feel like that's just liberating or that's a God thing or whatever that looks like, that's empowering once you get over the fact that I have no idea how many 37 trillion is. Like, that's a whole lot.
Right. Can't even really think about that for too long.
No. Because then it's like the more that I am just experiencing life and being and doing, this is where I get into then life, everything I'm doing becomes my muse. It becomes the thing that I then see and then I react to, and it helps me become a better person. And so then if I'm in a relationship with somebody that's telling me I'm a bad person, then what that brings up in me is the awareness and the knowledge that, man, this is not serving me well, because now I'm spending so much time trying to figure out, why does that person not love me? Why do they not care about me? What am I doing wrong? And all of that is a waste of emotional calories and energy, when I could just be figuring things out better. And I would rather be with somebody that's figuring stuff out as well. And then we're both being curious on our shared experiences, because then that doesn't sound amazing.
Right. And then I like too that I don't know if this was Reddit or if I was reading other things, but I just noted like a couple of little quotes, and super simple one, but I think it's deep. And it's just that time you enjoy wasting isn't wasted. And that's like a big thing with optimistic nihilism, because it's like, if you're sitting there wondering if things are like good for your life, or wondering if you're doing the right thing, or like feeling like you're falling behind or wasting time or any of those things, it's like the thing, if you're enjoying it and you're doing, and it's like a good thing in your life, then it's a good thing in your life, and it's
absolutely,
like it's not time wasted then. And so I feel like that's important, where again, even if it's like, we've talked about little, like, I like Legos, I like little things like that, where it's like, if that is something that brings something positive into my life, it's not wasted time, and it's not bad, and it's not negative. And obviously that goes further than doing Legos and whatever, but I feel like people get so caught up in just feeling like they're wasting so much time. And it's like, the time is passing. So like, regardless, fill it with things that are important to you and are values to you. And if that means doing Legos.
It does. And if you notice that you haven't been doing anything, then by the time you notice it, then now you have this opportunity to do. And so that's I think where just the part of there. There's nothing productive about then beating yourself up or ruminating or worrying. And I think all of us find things that we're going to do all these things today, and then we get distracted or other things happen. And then when you now recognize that, I think some of our nature is to go, man, what is wrong with me? Or I'm so dumb, or I should have been doing other things. And that's one where, okay, well, when you're done saying that, then now you can go do the things.
Right.
And pick
just
it up.
Take the time you have now and pick it up from there. And it's like, just not, And I think that applies too with the, like, with where I like deconstructing faith and entering this new thing where I'm like, is this how I feel? And is this a new thing? It's like, it's so easy to fall into this. I've wasted so much time not feeling this way. Right. Like I can't believe I didn't learn this sooner, or like playing that whole game. Which again, like you said, it's just not productive, because everything that I've done and everything I've experienced has led me to exactly where I am right now.
So now what do I do with
and I'm learning these things now. So cool, right? And like moving on from there. Okay, and then this quote, a little bit deeper, but good. And it says, as our collective consciousness expands beyond a crucial point, we are at last ready to accept life's fundamental truth, that life's only purpose is life itself. And I feel like it's just, the point is to be present, right? Like, the whole point is to just be present and experience life. And I feel like I've seen too, in like reading into beliefs and whatever, and there's just one that I think is kind of cute, but people say that, like, they're like, what if us being here is literally just the universe, like, taking the time to experience itself? Like, isn't that kind of cute? Isn't that kind of like, oh, the universe just wants to experience it. And we're
There's so much, Mac. I know we should probably wrap this one up, because we're going to do more too. But I feel
like, we could go more into this, or like we could do a whole other episode and go different ways with this.
Maybe we can, and maybe we can do a part 2 of this. And I will say, there's a quote that I was telling on my podcast for a while, because when I found it, it's from a book called Radical Acceptance by a lady named Tara Brach. And I love this, where again, this is just something that I found comforting, and it isn't a judgment on any belief or faith system. But she was talking about the concepts around Buddhism and the challenge to like a cultural worldview, but just this concept of that the human birth is a precious gift, because it gives us the opportunity to realize the love and awareness that are our true nature. So we're born with the ability to love and our true goodness. And so then I think the journey, then once we let go of, I need to do it the right way because that's somebody else telling me I'm doing it the right way, or I don't want to do it the wrong way because then I'm not going to do it because I'm afraid, that then that's when we just start to really find our inherent goodness. But here's the part that I think is really good. And again, I'm just saying this from a place of awareness. But she said, in stark contrast to this trust in our inherent worth, which I love that concept, that we need to trust our inherent worth. And so therefore, if somebody's getting in the way of our inherent worth, that's a them issue, which I think is really important to point out. But she said, in contrast to the trust in our inherent worth, our culture's guiding myth is more or less based around the story of Adam and Eve's exile from the garden, where we might forget its power because it seems so worn and familiar. But she said the story shapes and reflects the deep psyche of the West. The message of original sin is unequivocal. Because of our basically flawed nature, we don't deserve to be happy or loved by others or at ease with life. We're outcasts, and if we're to re-enter the garden, we must redeem our sinful selves. We must overcome our flaws by controlling our bodies, controlling our emotions, controlling our natural surroundings, and controlling other people. And we must strive tirelessly, working, acquiring, consuming, achieving, emailing, overcommitting, and rushing in a never-ending quest to prove ourselves once and for all. And I think that's the part where when we're comparing ourselves with others, and we feel like if I don't do enough, then I won't be accepted or let in, then that's a never-ending quest, because I always have to be putting myself in a position of, am I doing better than that person? Or does that person like me? Versus I just have to realize, my job here on this earth in life is to become and discover my inherent worth or beauty. And while I think her quote, maybe people that will say it's anti-Christian or it's whatever, but I disagree, because my experience is that we all have those God-given talents and abilities, or that inherent good in nature. And sometimes I feel like this is where we're all trying to say the same thing in different ways, of either how do we get to that place of you're okay, you're enough, you have all the tools you need, and then other people can go bless themselves.
Exactly. No, but yeah, exactly. That was deep. That whole whole quote and everything, that really is, that's deep. But then I really like how you're saying, like, to put it simply, I feel like if you are at a point where you're feeling like nothing matters and you're trying to make it a good thing or whatever, it's like to just focus on your only job right now is to become. I think that's so, like, that's
discover
huge,
that
right?
inherent worth.
Yeah.
Because it's there. It's absolutely there.
And then I think in doing that, you find your purpose, right? Or you find the bigger things that matter. So it's like, I think that is, your only job is to be you and to experience and to learn and look inward and do all that stuff. So that's deep.
And that's what will then put you in a position where you aren't going to put up with relationships where people are not curious about you, or they're withdrawing from you, or they're not showing up, or because then, man, I want to make the most out of this whole thing, this whole life. And if I'm not interacting with somebody, then I am going to have to go figure out things on my own. And I, I always say, we're like this quote that I love, we're designed to deal with emotion in concert with another human. But that's both of us saying, what do you think? What do you think? Not, I think you're wrong.
Right. And it's having a conversation, not just shutting someone down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then I feel, I have one last thing and this can be just going to close us out. I think this was just a random person on Reddit. Again, big into Reddit these days, if you can't tell. And they said, you only get one shot at life, or 2 or 3, depending on your belief system, which is scary, but it also sets you free. If the universe ends in heat death, every humiliation you suffer in your life will be forgotten. Every mistake you made will not matter in the end. Every bad thing you did will be voided. If our life is all we get to experience, then it's the only thing that matters. If the universe has no principles, the only principles relevant are the ones we decide on. If the universe has no purpose, then we get to dictate what its purpose is. We get to experience feelings. We get to experience food, books, sunrises, and being with each other. The fact that we're even able to think about these things is already kind of incredible. It's easy to think of ourselves as separated from everything, but this is not true. We are as much the universe as a neutron star or a nebula. Even better, actually, we are its thinking and feeling part, the center organs of the universe. We are truly free in a universe-sized playground, so we might as well aim to be happy and to build some kind of utopia in the stars. Fun.
It's okay, and this will be for so many episodes down the road, but what blows my mind is I feel, oh my gosh, I feel like I get that one, because there's some new stuff out in Scientific American about quantum consciousness. That we are just all. We are the all. We are one. And I mean, I could go down that path too. I was just saying nutty path, because I used to feel it was nutty, but I just think it's amazing. So that really was. That was good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go rob some banks, huh, Mackie?
Let's do it.
Okay. Good to be back, friend.
Yeah, good to be back. We'll do more.
Okay, let's do another one.
Okay. I don't know. I don't remember how. Do we do anything here?
At the end,
we just say bye?
Yeah. So go do the things like that.
Go do all the
things.
Or
something. There we go.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Is that what I did last time?
I think you did. There we go.
Watch on YouTube and see the balloons. Okay. Bye, Mackie.
Bye.